Today, I want to talk about why it is so important to get a touch test before going on bioidentical hormones. I sometimes want to just pull out my hair when I see people in groups just being put on bioidentical hormones. It's like, oh, woman, you're depressed, you're sad, you've got this issue, let's give you some hormones. And they're not running a Dutch test. They're not seeing if it is safe to go on those hormones. Even something as simple as progesterone may not be safe for you. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's go over a Dutch test, and you will very, very quickly see why. Now, I just pulled up one Dutch test. Actually, I pulled up two. This is the one that I really wanted to look at, but the thing with doing these things, I always have to take all the names off, and that takes forever. So I just pulled up two that were actually in the Integrative Healing Academy course, and I had already done it. But so very often, people go to their doctor, they might run saliva testing or they might run blood testing. They see low levels of hormones, and they're immediately put on bioidentical hormones. And we don't want to do that. We want to, and I have a whole video on why we don't want to work on the hormones first, why it's so important to get the foundation done, because when the body is under stress, when it's in chronic fight or flight, reproduction is not a priority. It's the first system that shuts down. So trying to just force your body to have these hormones when it's struggling to possibly detoxify them, or it's not prioritizing reproduction, is very counterintuitive to healing. And it's not going to just magically get rid of your symptoms, which is why most people go on BHRT, is because they want to turn their symptoms off. And we want to really get away from that model. We want to look at giving the body tools to heal. So the Dutch test is really great. And I have a whole other video on the adrenal patterns that we see. So go check that out on the channel. So I'm only going to touch upon the adrenals very briefly, but when we're looking at the Dutch test, I have a little house fly flying around in my face right now. It's bothering me. When we're looking at hormones, we want to pretend this is like a clock. So optimal range is between 10 to 2 o'clock. We like really ideally to see it between 12 and 2 o'clock on this little pretend clock. So here we can see their estrogen is above optimal. So this person wouldn't be one that we would consider for bioidenticals, but I just want you to get an idea of these different patterns that we can see. Progesterone here is high, testosterone is mid-range. That's good enough. We don't need really high as women. We do not need really high testosterone levels. We're going to see the total DHEA production here, which is also important. Then we see cortisol. Now the importance is actually page 3. So page 2 is just the numbers that show what on page 3. And I personally like diagrams. I find they tell a much better story. So when we are looking at the Dutch, the really important thing that we want to see is the metabolites. This is where you're not going to see it on saliva and you're not going to see it on blood. We want to see, is it safe to be using hormone therapy? And so a lot of women, they present with low sex drive and their testosterone, we'll say it's low. Say this person was actually presenting with a 2, and that practitioner, if they saw low blood or low saliva levels, might say, let's give you some testosterone support. It's going to increase your sex drive. But we can see here, look at the metabolism. We can see really low levels of testosterone and really high levels of metabolites. It just means the body is breaking it down quickly. It doesn't mean there's a lack of production. It means it's not there long enough in the saliva and the blood for it to be shown. But when we run the Dutch, because it's a whole day urine test, we are seeing how it's being broken down. And that is more important. So we look at this alpha pathway. If we see somebody with, and this goes for men also, you can see a man with very low testosterone levels and very high alpha toxic metabolites, and just feeding them more testosterone will feed these toxic metabolites. And that's where the increased risk for men of male cancers is. For women, this is where you start to develop PCOS. So just giving more hormones is not the answer. Now, when it comes to supplementing with estrogen or progesterone, we need to look at the metabolism here. So this person has beautiful metabolism. We like to see a ratio of 80 green to 10 red to 10 blue. And their blue is a little high, but the blue is the 16OH, that's the E3. That is very inert. It's neutral. It's not going to cause harm. We do not want to see this 4OH toxic estrogen metabolite pathway high. If it is high, it is very contraindicated to add in any estrogen or progesterone support. And people always say, oh, progesterone, it should be safe. It is not safe because progesterone in the presence of aromatase can interconvert to androgens and cortisol and estrogen. So we want to make sure it's safe. We don't turn off a symptom, try to, give you a higher sex drive by giving you more hormones to then end up with cancer in 5 years, 10 years. We don't want to do that. There's other ways. I have a whole video on sex drive. There are other ways to increase your sex drive without doing this. So for me, when I run a Dutch, it is very, very rare that I would jump to a bioidentical. Very rare. We have herbs, we have supplements that can help balance hormones that is so much safer than jumping to bioidentical. Just because it's bioidentical doesn't mean it's safe. Very often, the reason why your hormones are low is because your body says we cannot safely metabolize this. And then us thinking we are wise, give the body more. No, it doesn't work. Okay, so if you're looking at balancing your hormones, I do have a hormone balancing video that goes over in depth how to work on it. I just wanted in this video to do a very, very quick video on the importance of seeing these two diagrams. All right, a lot of people too, like they will see low DHEA levels on their blood work, so they supplement with DHEA. And they're not looking down at these downstream metabolites. They're not seeing what else is going on. You want to see the full picture when it comes not only to your hormones, but to your entire body. So I hope you like that video. If you do, hit like and subscribe, and I'll get you some more.